Hello loyal fans and subscribers, Ninamori Fanboy here with another PBF video. This is of course going to be the first video of Season 2. That's right, Season 2 is already underway. The first battles of the season officially begin in about, not quite a week, a few days. It's Tuesday now, I believe. The season begins Monday, so 6 days. I am of course still the St. Louis Carbinks. And we have quite a few of the same participants as we did last season, as well as some new members. I think like 3/4 of the Omega division are actually new members, but we'll get into that. For the time being, though, I would just like to discuss the picks I made and why I made them as compared to some of the picks that the other members made, so kind of like what I did last season. In fact, it's pretty much the exact same thing. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into the exciting part. Okay, to begin, let's start with OU. As the first set of drafting of the season, the members in charge of the PBF decided that we would have a non-randomized order for drafting just for OU. You know, typically the order is completely randomized, but for this session, the order was actually determined by your rank from the previous season. So the Pittsburgh Steelix, the winner of last season, got the last pick among the participants from last season. The new participants got in after the members of the previous season. So I was ranked number 3 or 4 from the previous season, Season 1, and I ended up being pick number 9, which 9 is a cool number. I was fine with that. And I had a plan going in, which it kind of came through, kind of not, but we'll see as I explain right now. First thing I gotta mention, we had a vote before the draft deciding if we would allow Greninja, Mega Blaziken, and Aegislash, and the majority agreed to ban them. It was a very close vote, too. I mean, I don't think it was favored by much. I, of course, voted against it, but I would have been fine if they were allowed again, although it would have been difficult dealing with them. You know, last year I obviously had Greninja, but since I was pick number 9, I probably wouldn't have gotten any of those, which would have been fine because it would have meant there's less chance of the pokes I did want getting taken, so I was actually fine either way, but they're not available this season, so I'm fine with that as well. The first thing, I wanted to kind of change up my team a bit from the last season. I knew I couldn't have, the exact same team, of course, because Greninja wasn't available, and I figured I wouldn't get a lot of the pokes that I drafted last year, because I had a lot of early, I was early to pick in a lot of the randomized drafts, but I didn't want to try to rely on the fact that I would get a lot of the picks that I wanted, and instead opted for a more strange ideology to team building. Ultimately, the very first Pokemon that I wanted and that I did successfully draft on the first round was Mega Medicham. Everyone should know by now that Mega Medicham is one of my favorite Pokemon. Admittingly, it is pretty slow, although it does somewhat mitigate that by having access to Fake Out plus Bullet Punch. But ultimately, the reason I wanted him, particularly in this league, is because he absolutely tears through teams, especially bulky ones. Not bulky teams, I meant balance. I don't know why I said bulk, but balance. He's a wall breaker, so that I figured in this league people would try to draft at least a few walls, myself actually included. And Mega Medicham is just an absolute wall breaker no matter how you look at it. Of course, if an opportunity presents itself where it looks like I could sweep with Mega Medicham, I might opt for that route instead of, just a pure wall breaker. There's options with Mega Medicham, and I think it'll definitely do very well for me this season. For pick number 2, I had quite a few options in mind. I was thinking about a Azumarill, one of the Lotties, maybe Talonflame or Garchomp or Lando. All them high priority mons that I even wanted last season, I still wanted this season kind of. But a lot of the ones that I mentioned actually got taken, which isn't surprising. It was actually very shocking last season to see how long some of those pokes lasted in the draft, and some that didn't even get taken at all. But anyway, by the time it got around to me again and looking at what had been taken and what hadn't, I figured there was one solid mon that I could definitely benefit from having. That Pokemon being Talonflame. It looks like my Fletchinder from last season evolved after that epic battle against the Steelix. That's the way I look at it anyway. Either way, that's pretty much irrelevant. The fact is, I have Talonflame on my team. One of the biggest checks to Mega Medicham there is in OU at the moment. I've actually never used a Talonflame competitively, and I'm so ready to start doing so. I can already anticipate all the goodies that I can do with this mon that everyone else has used. So I don't think I need to explain Talonflame. Anyway, on to Poke 3. There was most of the pokes that I mentioned earlier, I think, got taken. I believe Azumarill was still available, and I kind of wanted that just for, priority Aqua Jet. But I ended up ultimately deciding on Starmie, because it's also a water type, but it has Rapid Spin, of course, and I do have a Talonflame on my team, which I may need Starmie to, Rapid Spin sometime, and this way I wouldn't have to rely on drafting Hitmontop and RU again, so that alleviated some pressure off the later drafts. So I was definitely content with Starmie too, because I've used it, and I do know that it's a great mon, even without, the necessity of Rapid Spin. It's an all-around good mon in general, I feel. So yeah, that's my OU team. On to UU. It went back to being a randomized draft completely. And once again, I was pick number 9, which, I'm pretty acceptable, because 9's a pretty cool number. Since the 3 OU pokes I drafted were mostly offensive, I opted for a more bulky Pokemon again, and I think you'll all be quite happy to discover that it is Swampert once again returning to the St. Louis Carbinks team. I don't really think I need to explain it just based on its performance last season. I think it was on every team of mine. It's got great bulk, it's got Stealth Rock, it can Scald, it can, it's got powerful Earthquake. It can do a lot. Like, I can work around teams. The only thing I really gotta worry about is Grass, which I do have Talonflame this season, a little bulkier than Fletchinder from last, unless I had Eviolate. But either way, with those two, I'm pretty confident that they'll both be able to work very well. And although I did just get a good Stealth Rocker, I opted for another very good ground Pokemon that can Stealth Rock, being Mamoswine, because it hadn't been taken. This gives me, priority Ice Shards, strong Earthquakes, like I said, Stealth Rock potential, just, all around some good stuff with Mamoswine. You can't go wrong with Mamo. For my third pick, I wanted a dragon to kind of replace Latios from last season, a special dragon, so no Haxorus. Hydrocon got taken, Salamence got taken, which only left Noivern, which I was pretty happy to take. It's not quite as powerful as those other dragons, but it outspeeds them, which is, pretty cool. It's fast enough that I probably won't have to give it Choice Scarf ever. I can give it Specs or Life Orb or something else. So, that'll be pretty nice. I'm certainly happy with Noivern. Now on to RU. Once again, I was pick number 9 in this randomized draft, and like I've been saying, 9 is a cool number, so I was pretty content with that. RU is a very crucial tier, though. I would need to draft a lot of bulky mons from this tier, and there's very few mons in this tier, which I'm always discussing. This, of course, makes drafting extra hard because there's a higher chance that the Pokemon you wanted will get taken, and in fact, the Pokemon I wanted most from this tier, Virizion, ended up getting taken right away. So I was left with my number 2 choice, which was equally as good, if not better, but that's up for debate. Anyway, the number 1 pick of the RU tier is Granbull. Yes, Granbull is returning. RU this time. Last season it was NU, but this season it bumped up to RU, and I snagged it immediately, and I'm quite satisfied with that pick. I believe its performance last season requires no justification as to why I picked it. Anyway, on to pick number 2. I kind of wanted another Intimidator because I had 3 last season, and the thing is I kind of figured Hitmontop would get taken early, and it did, so I knew I couldn't have that, which is, like I said, why I drafted Starmie earlier. Since I couldn't get Virizion, I wanted a grass type. There are a few key grass types in this tier, one being Virizion, one being Tangrowth, Amoonguss is one, and Trevenant is another. I wanted any of them. Any of them would have been fine with me. But they all got taken. Every last one of them. As I just mentioned, I was also kind of looking for another Intimidator, and since I couldn't get the poison type in Amoonguss, I figured an all-around good mon that I'm surprised didn't get taken already that I ended up drafting was Quillfish. I have never used a Quillfish competitively, but I know they're pretty good, at Intimidators. They got Toxic Spikes, they're Poison type, which is my only check to Fairy on this team so far. I figured I could potentially do well with it, and I wouldn't want anyone else to have it against me, so I was happy drafting Quillfish. And for my third choice, like I said, basically all I wanted in the tier were some bulky grass types, or even offensive grass types, and Quillfish. One I had in the back of my mind, like, if everything else got picked, would be Mega Steelix, which I ended up picking here because everything else got taken. I probably won't ever use Mega Steelix because I have Mega Medicham, but if I'm against, like, a really, really, either offensive team or a team with, like, a lot of fairies or something, I'll opt for Mega Steelix instead of Mega Medicham. I would have liked something else, but I'm content with Mega Steelix, certainly. Now, on to the final tier, the NU tier. And in order to keep it an even 4 tier drafts, PU was included in NU, since, PU is its official tier now. We just included it among NU just to keep it similar to Season 1. Anyway, for this draft, I was pick number 3, so not 9 again. It's higher than 9, though, so that's pretty good. For my first pick, I went with Persian again. I really like Persian. It can do some tricky things that I didn't exactly get to pull off last season, and I might not this season either, but I still have it in case it comes down to that, so that'll be nice. I'm definitely content with Persian. My number 2 pick is a similar situation to my situation in the RU tier, where I wanted quite a few pokes, but they all got taken. I had, Pyroar listed is one that I can think of. I can't seem to think of the others at the moment. I had a few listed, but they all pretty much got taken. So I ended up with Magmortar, which is another good wall breaker, a fire type, and an all-around good mon, I feel. I wanted Pyroar first because, DAT speed, but I ended up getting Magmortar, which is, equally as good because DAT power. So I'm also quite content with Magmortar, pretty excited to use it. I haven't in a long time. Now, on to the final pick. I still wanted a grass type or an electric type, just something to hit bulky waters, and my final choice was Pikachu, but even Pikachu got taken. I couldn't believe it. So ultimately, I finally made my decision to draft the mascot itself, Carbink. I've always wanted to use a Carbink competitively, and I figured, this is the perfect time. So, there's definitely things Carbink can do that I'm looking forward to. Hopefully it'll work out. If it does, that'll be epic. I would have liked, like I said, to get a grass or an electric in either RU or NU, but nothing was left. Everything got taken. I haven't decided if I'm going to try to trade this season or not. It's like last season where we can trade amongst each other, and I believe one week somewhere in the season we're allowed to trade with the leftover pokes that didn't get taken by anyone. I'm not sure if I'll be participating in trading, though. Last season, I was adamant about not doing it. I might try it this season if, a good grass or electric Pokemon comes my way. We'll see. I might not anyway, just because, I'm stubborn. But anyway, for the time, this is my team. Mega Medicham, Talonflame, Starmie, Swampert, Mamoswine, Noivern, Granbull, Quillfish, Mega Steelix, Persian, Magmortar, and Carbink. So we got some familiar faces as well as some new ones. I'm certainly excited for both of them. I hope you are as well. Like I said, there's some familiar faces in the PBF as well as some new members as well. I think that made sense. If not, I'm sorry. This video's dragging on a little longer than I expected, but it is what it is. I've said basically all I needed to say in this first analysis video thing, I guess. I listed my team, why I picked it. I mean, I think this is a very good team. The thing is, though, every single member in all 16 of us, we all drafted powerful teams. So if we were to, say, just remove trainer input into the equation, like, there's no team that would have an advantage over another. That's how balanced this is, which I think is going to make this a very good season. I hope that's correct. I hope this is entertaining. I hope, like I said, I don't know what else I hope. I think since I'm running out of ideas, I guess I should end the video here. Thank you for watching if you sat through this whole thing. Look forward to the season. The first battle officially begins the Monday after I upload this. I'm not sure when I upload this. It's getting late now, but yeah, so what's the date today? The 1st? Yeah, today's December 1st, so I can't math right now. Like, the 7th, I think, is when it officially begins. Anyway, like I mentioned a few times, and I'm rambling, thank you for watching the video. Have a good day. Look forward to Season 2 and stuff.